Go grab a calendar and let's get to hacking. Keep watching. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back, y'all. We're going to start off by looking at these pages. Now, there's a variety of outdated calendar pages here. I've got some wildlife. I've got some beautiful ones with some Bible verses on them and some wildlife. So we're going to use a variety of those. You can also use on the inside cover the little sample pictures. And on the back of most calendars, you can get the little grid, so you can use these pieces as well. The cutting board is going to be our first haul. I'm going to use antiquing wax and a baby wipe, some Mod Podge, this turkey picture. Love the vibrancy in this picture, so pretty. And then I got this. It was originally from Target. We're going to use the back side. We're not going to use the side with the little holes in it. We're going to take off that hanger first. Decide how we want to position this. Do you want the verse or do you want all of the turkey body in there? And I think we're going to slide it up and use the turkeys. This will be good for Thanksgiving. I'm going to fold that over. Now I like to crease it with my fingers. So you can use a credit card, you can use a squeegee, your fingers, some flat surface, even a ruler to crease the sides. So that when you pull it off of there, you know exactly where you want to cut it. Very easy to do. Then I'll use my paper cutter, and you can just use scissors for this. I'm going to line it up and cut that off. Very easy. I'm going to use antiquing wax on here. Now this antiquing wax is not food safe, so if you wanted to use this as a charcuterie board or to put snacks on, you would have to use some type of a stain that is food safe. I'm just going to use this as a decorative piece, and I'm not going to put it all over the part that needs the glue because I don't want that wax to repel any of my glue. I'll go down the sides of the board. If you have a board of any kind, it doesn't have to be this one. You can flip it over and do the back as well. Once that is done, I am going to let it dry and I will start adding on my Mod Podge. A nice, thin, even layer with no little dried pieces. You got to pick those out, right? Nice and smooth. I'll take my little outdated calendar page and pop that right on there. You can slide it down. You can move it around a little bit if you need to. I like the positioning, so I'm just going to pat it down with my hands and then use a brayer to make sure that it is flat and that every bit of that glue is hitting every part of that gorgeous print. Put the hanger back on and there you have it. So easy. So easy. If you enjoyed this video so far, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thanks! I think this would be really pretty, just propped up in your kitchen, you know, maybe against your backsplash or anything. The wood cutout is next. We're going to use this owl page, but we're going to save the owl and just use the greenery from the tree. The owl can be some other part. Now this is an owl cutout that you get from Dollar Tree. I'm going to look and see how much I need so I don't cut off too much and destroy my poor little owl on the other side. And then I'll cut it off here as well. All right. Once I know where I want it, this time I'm going to use school glue. And this is just a purple glue stick. It is purple at first and then it changes color, and this way you know that you've got that glue everywhere. You can see exactly where you've put it, so everything is sticking down like it should. I'll line this up on the bottom, and then just pat it with my hand, and then grab a brayer or a squeegee or a credit card or a ruler, and then make sure that it is flat on your wooden surface. I just propped it up with a piece of scrap wood that we will be using later in another project. Get it nice and flat all the way over to the edges and butt it up against the bottom. This is so easy to do. We're going to save a ton of money with these projects, and we're going to be doing different seasons. So we're going to be doing some fall and a couple of little winter or Christmassy looking ones too later on. So stick around. Now I'm going to cut around the outside. You can also use whatever, if you don't want to use scissors, you can use a utility knife or whatever you want to use for it. You don't have to be precise because we're going to use a sander to even it out. I'm going to turn it over and just make sure I didn't knock anything loose. Now using an awl or using your scissors, something small enough to fit in the holes of whatever cutout you use, I'm just going to push through so I can see where they are. I do this first before I start sanding these pieces down. And this is not difficult. Very easy to do. So I got some of these sanders from Temu, and I like using these on small projects, so they work really well. I'm just going to go back in that initial hole that I made and push that little sanding piece all the way up against the sides of the wood and just file up and down until the paper shreds. Be sure that it is dry first. So if you want to leave it overnight, if you want to leave it for a few hours, you can go ahead and do that. If you try to do this when the glue is still wet, you're going to have pieces of it that try to come up. And I want this to look like it was painted on. It's funny, I didn't intend for this to look like it was camouflage, but it really looks like it's camouflage now, and I'm going with it because we're going to do something special with this owl. You know, owls are camouflage anyway. They're up in the trees. You don't see them until they decide they want you to see them when they fly down. They're all over the trees where we're living right now, and yeah, they will surprise you sometimes. They're so quiet and still. So you can see now I've gone in the ears and I've done the eyes. You can see how it's looking so far. You can also use like an emery board or nail file, whatever. Now we're going to do all of the pieces because there's some feathered areas. We want to do those too. Then I'll take my sander and make sure that I get the edges nice and clean. And when you sand down and away from it, it will just shear off the little excess paper that is overhanging. Very easy to do. This is a micro sander, but you don't have to use it. A lot of us call them finger sanders, but you can also use an emery board for this. And you can go to Dollar Tree and get a pack of nail files and use them for these kind of projects. You can really save your money. Now I'm going to take some of this brown paint. Whatever brown you want will work, because not everybody has antiquing wax, so we'll just use some brown paint. I'm going to go all over the back of this owl, and I'm also going to go on the stand. I'm going to take a smaller brush and I'll be going on the inside of each of the little cutout areas. Now be careful when you do this that you don't get so much that it's globs of paint are coming through the little feathered sections. But if they do, just get a no, just barely damp paper towel and wipe it before it dries, and it'll be fine. I'm going to do the outline of it too, all the way around the edge. And then you can see now where I've taken a very narrow, thin brush, and I'm going in each of those little detailed areas and making those brown. It just makes it pop. It just makes it look a little bit more high end. So far so good. And now, you know me, I'm going to do some shading. If you're not the kind of person who wants to do antiquing and shading, you don't have to. But you can do it with paint and not just doing it with, with a special product like an antiquing wax. So you can do it with paint. Just be sure that you offload a lot of it. It just makes a difference to me, and I like the way that it looks. It makes it look more like there's dimension in it, more like an owl. You can see him a little bit better now. And just kind of blend it out with what's left on the brush. This is how the little owl looks, just as cute as he can stink and be. You can use either side. I'm going to show you what it looks like with two different candles. If you put a short one in there, it's going to kind of accentuate the lower part of his body. But if you'll grab a taller flameless candle, put it up top, the light's going to shine mainly through his eyes. But you can still see it through the candle and the other parts of his body, as you can see right here. I did not turn the light off for this project, but you can see it flicker. So this was another easy one to do, right? Come on, y'all, you can do this. A scrap wood sign is our next piece. So I will be using this beautiful print. I hate to cut my couple apart, but we're going to. Here's my scrap of wood that has been sanded. I am going to get my placement, put it on here first before I cut anything. Just kind of make a mark so I know where I want to put, because I can use a little bird on the bottom for another project. And then be sure when you're using a print from a calendar page that you cut that section off that's got the hole in it, or you make some type of an attempt to camouflage that hole so people don't know that it's calendar. So we're going to go back to that glue stick and make a nice even coat all the way over this board. Be sure that you get around your edges too so nothing starts to lift off. I'll add the print down where I like it. You'll be able to move it around a little bit if you're careful. I'm creasing it with my fingernail. And feel free, if you're the type of person who likes to measure everything and cut it out first, go ahead and do that if that's the way that you like to do things. On this channel, I encourage you to make things your own. Whatever technique it takes for you to get to your final result of joy and happiness is what we like to do on this channel. So now I'll go over it with my sander again, and the same technique, down and away, and it will come all the way off the edge. It's going to leave the very thinnest little white line because it's on paper all the way around the edge. And if y'all are wondering, that's a chalk bottom. So that's nothing we're going to worry about. It's going to be on the bottom. We're not concerned about that. So this is how it's going to look. I'm going to grab a water wipe or a baby wipe and some of my antiquing wax. And I am going to color all around the edges of this scrap piece of wood. Now you could do front and back, so you make something that's reversible. You could do this for one season, paint over the top, and then add something new on top of it. Then you're recycling your pieces. You're saving even more money doing it that way. I don't recommend that you try to paint over antiquing wax, although you can. You might need some type of a sealer or a primer to really make it stick. Use your discretion and kind of do some research on that. It's not something I've done before. So now I'm just taking that edge and just wiping this over the little white edge that I told you was there from the paper. I'm just going over it just lightly with that same wipe to give it a slight outline. It just looks rustic and simple, but colorful and beautiful. Now you can seal the top. Very pretty. He doesn't have his little friend there, but we could easily have cut that little friend out and put it in the picture with him. Totally up to you. I hope that you like this one. Thank you to my channel members. You guys are the best. Okay, ornaments are next. We're going to take 2 of these little pieces. Love the little birds. Y'all know I love birds. I'm going to take 2 of these little wood round pieces. You can get them at Dollar Tree as well. Some plaster chalk paint and a brush, and a little bit of jute twine. These are just scraps. So I'm going to take that plaster paint and I'm just going to put it around on the inside. I don't want it to overlap onto the wood, but if it does overlap onto the wood, wait till it dries and just kind of get it with an emery board and it'll come right off. The edges of these live wood pieces actually have they're fragile, so you have to be kind of careful with them. They will flake and chip sometimes. Be gentle. Okay, I've got them both painted there. I am going to dry them very quickly before we do the next part. I'm going to take my Mod Podge here. And really it doesn't matter what type of Mod Podge you use. I just like a matte finish. So generally you're going to see me using the matte. If it's something you're going to put outside, you're going to need to use something like dishwasher safe or outdoors, waterproof, something like that. Mod Podge has a huge and I do mean huge variety. A little something for any craft. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my squeegee and just put this on here. I'm going to show you, you don't necessarily have to cut this out first to make it work. We're going to set it aside, let it dry. Now, it just so happens I have a ribbon spool that will fit right on the inside of that little piece of wood, so I'm going to use that as my template to cut this piece out into a circle. I'm going to show you that you can do a circle, or you can put it on there however you feel like you want to do it. I'm going to trim all the way around there. I made sure that my little bird was in the middle and that I get plenty of the flowers on the edge. Yes. So I'll put it down on top of the Mod Podge, and then I'll use my squeegee to make it nice and flat. I'll just seal the edges with the tiny bit of that Mod Podge. And when it's dry, of course, you can go all the way over the top. I'm going to poke a hole with my weeding tool. You can use it all for this too. Why in the world is it in the bird's eye? But it happened to be right there. Did not do that on purpose. And then I'll go around the edge of this one. I had already trimmed it close to the edge of the wood, and all I'm doing here is just going away. I'm not going downward. I'm just, well, at a slight angle. I'm just kind of shearing that off. This is going to give you a thicker white edge, and you're going to be able to blend the edge of that wood with a little bit of antiquing wax and make it look possibly even like it was painted on. So it's two options for you for the ornaments. All right, I'm going to pick off all my little stray pieces there. Don't want to leave a huge mess on there. But they will look like this with the little white edge. Here's my little pretty baby, all dry. What is that, an oriole? Is that what that's called, that little yellow and black bird? And then I'm just going to use the same rag that I used before, or wipe rather, that I used before, and just kind of brush that on the edges to make it look like it blends in with that wood. This is so easy to do. If you're just now starting to craft, I hope that you pick up all the little tips that I'm going to give you in this video, because I believe everybody can craft. We just have to find our little happy zone where we're confident enough to get started. Just start somewhere and just keep going. And all the little hacks that you can get are really helpful for me when I'm learning something new. Okay, so I'm just going to thread this through. It's just a little piece of scrap jute. I'll tie a knot in the end to make a short hanger for this. And where would you use fall ornaments? Well, on a fall tree, of course. Yes. You could also use them as like a bottle topper. You could, hang it around a bottle that you have. You could hang it off of the doorknob in your kitchen. Totally up to you. Just for a little sunshine in your home. And we can try doing something a little bit extra. So I'm just going to blend out a little bit of the lighter color. And yes, I could have not painted this. That would have been fine too. But a lot of crafting is experimenting, right? We learn all these little hacks. We learn all these little tips. And then we experiment so that we can make it our own. This one's complete. And then I decided to add a little bit of orange ribbon to this one. There's little berries on that limb where the birds are standing. So poked a hole in there, and I'm just going to feed that ribbon through. Tie it is in a knot as well. So this will be a longer piece. It's going to hang down a little bit more than the other one. And I'll leave the knot on the top for this one. Then you can go decorate with it. So I've just hung this from some little fall branches that I have, little leafless branches in a copper mug. And you could definitely display yours like this as well. You can get a branch from your yard and put some rocks around it in a cup or a jar and put your ornaments hanging right off of it just like that. Really, really save your money. From a calendar, right? The thrifted basket is going to be the next piece. This is the picture that I've chosen for this one. I've got my Mod Podge and a brush and a little basket that I thrifted. It's a little hanging basket and it's blue. And I think it's going to be really pretty with the blue in the background. There's mountains and pumpkins and all kinds of good stuff. So I just happen to have a clear cutout that's an oval. I'm going to use that as a template. I can see right through it. I got these when I was thrifting, y'all. I've still got to craft with them, but I think I'm going to use them for Christmas. And you can see the white line around it. I used white because it contrasts with all that dark color so I could see it. And I'm going to cut right to the inside of the white line. I do not want any of the white line showing. So cutting right onto the inside will make it exactly how I like it. And we're going to put it on this basket. And I know it's thick, but I'm going to show you how you can make it work. So I'm adding quite a bit of Mod Podge, kind of a thick layer here, and I'm getting it down in those cracks too. Now this is also going to strengthen that basket. It's going to make it last for a long time. You know, after some time when you have a basket, they start to fray a little bit and they get dry and the wood slats will snap. Well, I am really hoping that this is going to hold this thing together for a while. It's in pretty good shape though. I can't complain. So when you place it down, now this was an experiment for me, y'all. When you place it down on there, you'll see that if it's the back of a calendar piece, it's a lot thicker. It is not like a regular page. So I'm going, well, this is not going to work. So I grabbed up a piece of sponge. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of water, squeeze out the excess, just use it damp. And I'm just going to pounce it all over this. It's already got glue on it and everything. But this is going to help dampen that piece of thicker paper. So it will, it'll be more malleable. I can move it a little bit more. I want to thank you for being here. This is kind of a long video, but if you are still here, just know that it means the world to me. Every time you watch my videos, that watch time helps my channel. When you give me a thumbs up, that helps my channel. And of course, when you subscribe, you are helping my dream come true because this is my dream job. And I am working toward 100,000 subscribers. My original goal was Halloween. I'm trying to be steadfast, y'all. I'm going slow though, but I'm trying. It would help if I didn't have so many other things going on right now, right? But it is what it is. If you're here and you're enjoying this, I would love it if you would become part of our Making It My Own DIY family. All right, so you're going to put that aside and let that completely dry. You will know that it is dry when you feel the paper. If it's not soft anymore, you know what dry paper feels like. Now, I just decided I'm going to take my antique and wax, and we're going to make this look a little more rustic. You don't have to do this at all. If you like your basket the way it is, the color that it is, totally fine. Leave it exactly as it is. But it applies fine, nice and smoothly over the top of this Mod Podge. And when it dries, it stays there. I went around the rim, and now I'm going to make it sort of like a cameo, I guess you could say, and I'm going to go around the edge. Or a vignette. Maybe it's a vignette. Anyway, I'm going to go around the edge and I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to blend it out. So don't be too distracted by the fact that it looks like I put too much on because I'm going to wipe it. Now see the difference it makes when you put the wax on? So there's the little wipey, and after I've let it set for a minute, I'm going to gently remove any of the excess. And that's how the little basket's going to look. So it's a perfect small basket that you can put things in that you enjoy, or you can hide your snacks in there. You know, I'm all about hiding some snacks. Peanut butter cups. Yes, and then you can also add some florals to it and put it in a small area. You can give it to somebody you love, whatever you want to do with it. Easy to make, and I hope you like it. The next project is going to be a cookie jar. Okay, Mod Podge again. You see a pattern here. I'm going to use some heirloom white paint. This is a spray paint. I'm going to use this little jar that came from Dollar Tree. It is plastic. Great little canister. And this beautiful little bird and apples. Now, when you turn these on the side, there's a round area on the side. The lid is just a little bit smaller, so it's going to be the perfect size for me to put on the side and still have a little color around the outside. So I'm using a contrasting color. I'm just using a purple pen here because it's going to show up. And then I will take this outside and spray paint it. Here's the little bird. Once I've got this all cut out, I'm going to use a furniture repair marker and go all around the edges to give it a bit of an outline. This is another option for you when you are doing these things, is to outline it. You can also use a paint around the edge. You can use Mod Podge around the edge. My friend Trish over at Crafting Cousins, she uses a little finger dauber and I think ink to do hers. So there's a lot of options for this too. Don't feel like you can't do it. If you go away with nothing else from this whole video, all these 10 projects, know that you can do things in a bunch of ways, and just because you do it differently does not make it wrong, okay? Good. Believe in yourself, because I believe in you. Now look. I love that. Now there's a flat side on the other side as well, so you could do both sides with different pictures, but I think one side is enough for me. I'll just kind of pat that in place really gently, and then I'm going to grab my little squeegee and put it in place. Take all the wrinkles out, the bubbles out, and then set it aside to dry. I'm going to grab some copper paint because I decided I want my lid to be copper. While that's outside drying, I'm going to take some Mod Podge and seal this little bird in on the side, because if he's going to be in the kitchen, he'll be getting wiped down regularly, and I don't want it to come off. There you go. Oh, you should seal it with something waterproof too. So this is how it's going to look. Now I've decided I'm not putting cookies in mine. I'm going to do something a little bit different just to give you an idea. So what if you have a coffee bar and maybe you're not a cookie fan, right? Maybe you're not trying to hide your sweets in an obvious spot. So consider maybe putting your K-cups in here. Take that off, and I've got some K-cups. Yes. Perfect. I love this one. It may be my favorite. The bird box is next. All right, so I'm going to grab that maple marker again, the furniture marker. I've already cut these birds out, and I'm going to go around the edges of the bird with this marker. When you cut paper, you know it's white. You don't always see it, but when you put the marker or something around the edge, it really makes it pop up from whatever surface you put it on. It gives it a bit of shadowing and dimension, and it really does look better. The last project that I do, I will not do this part because I want to show you the difference. And also I'd like your input, so stick around to the end. Okay, so I'm going to take this box that I thrifted. It's got little rainbows or something on it. And I'm going to use my plaster chalk paint to go all the way around the outside. You can do the bottom as well, but I'm going to save paint and I'm not doing the bottom. Now I'm going to use a wipe with some wax to do the entire inside. And right around the inside of the little handles as well. Let that dry, and this is how it's going to look. It will lighten up, the antique wax. All right, now I'm going to find a place for the little birds to live. And I think I am going to work on both of the flat sides rather than the side that has the handles on it. So the leaf was a little bit long. I just cut that off to fit. And I'll put some Mod Podge down. Remember what I said about using thin layers of Mod Podge. If you use too much, it's going to make it wet and it will wrinkle like crazy. And it's very difficult once the page is wet to be able to straighten those out without tearing your piece. I'm going to save you the frustration. Just try to be light-handed with that, okay? And if you worry that you don't have enough glue or Mod Podge on there, you can go back and seal your project after it's completely dry, and then you won't have to worry with the wrinkles, okay? All right. So now I'm going to go to the other side of the box and add him. Now, because the feet were so difficult to cut out and so thin, I thought, well, let's just make him look like he's sitting in a pile of leaves. So I cut another piece out of leaves, and I'm just going to use that there for the bird. He will just be sitting in some leaves. I had a little speck of something on there, y'all. It's always something, isn't it? Always something. And I am going to go around the entire box and put Mod Podge on it just to protect the wax paint. Always, not wax, chalk paint. Y'all, when you use chalk paint, another tip for you is that you need to be making sure that you seal it, okay? Especially if you plan on it being something that you want to last a long time. You need to seal it. And you can buy sealers for it, or you can use wax for it. Clear wax, white wax, antiquing wax, whatever you want to use for the project that you're doing. Okay, so far so good. But now, because I am who I am, I'm going to be adding some antique wax all around the box. This is going to be rustic. And I think that's what everybody calls a project that looks like it is dirty. It's rustic. My idea is not to make it look like it's dirty, but it's making it look like it has got some age. It has been well loved. It's been scooted around a lot, bumped against pieces of furniture, maybe bumped against a coffee cup. You know, we're giving it some history, I guess. I'm also going to go around the edge of the top with this as well, right over the white, just to, again, keep it consistent all the way through the project. You can go inside there with the handles as well. Y'all, I've got a big bruise on my arm. I'm sorry. I forgot to put a Band-Aid on there to cover it. Real life, right? Okay. So I love him. And you could just put anything you want in here. You could use it as a desk organizer. You can put your coffee cup and your glasses in here. Totally up to you. I've just taken a copper mule here and put the little stir down in there. You know, I've got my little flameless candle there. I'm all ready for a dreary day to have some cocoa and watch some movies. I am good to go with this. And if you flip it around, this is how it looks. I love that it really gives it that old wood look with this technique. There are so many options with calendars. The farm sign will be the next. Mod Podge and a brush. Here is this gorgeous picture. I also used this picture, I believe, on that little basket. This originally came from Target. I got it at the thrift store. I am going to use this in here. Now, if you want to leave it square, you could certainly do that, but I'm going to show you something else you can do that's going to make it look even more high-end. I'm going to color this because in my home, I like the warm colors. So we're going to take this wood that's fairly neutral and we're going to give it a little more warmth just by going around the edge. We use the baby wipe with the wax to give it a more sheer look. If you used a brush, it would be darker. And you can really stretch your wax this way as well, rather than wiping it on, wiping it off, and throwing the paper towel away, right? All right, so I'm going to begin to tear this because I would like this to look like, well, like a torn picture. I want to be able to age my edges, and I want this to look unique. And for me, this will be unique. If you don't like this technique, you don't have to do this. If you have some of those, I believe they're scrapbooking scissors with the different types of edges on them, like a pinking shear, if you wanted to do that on yours, you definitely can. So now tapping that same rag in here, that same little wipe, I haven't added anything new to it. I'm going to bump it all around the edges where that white paper was, and this makes it look old. To me, it looks like something that's been around for a long time. Gotta let that dry first. Then I'm going to start adding some Mod Podge on here. Now it looks like I'm adding a ton of Mod Podge, but whatever this MDF is that's supposed to be wood, it is so thirsty, it is soaking up my Mod Podge. I did not want to use a glue stick on this. I knew it was going to have to be a little bit heavier. I'll find the placement I like and then drop it down. And then I'll grab a squeegee and just start working from the center down and out. This gives you the opportunity to push any bubbles that may be underneath out to the side without ripping your page. Be gentle. It looks like I'm pushing really hard, but this squeegee that I have is kind of like a rubbery consistency. It's not a hard plastic, so it's very forgiving. So far I like this very much, but I want this to look like maybe it was even hand painted. So you're going to grab some type of a hard squeegee or some type of a ruler edge or something, a credit card, driver's license, push down into the cracks. You're going to need to be very careful when you do this. For me, I did it while it was still wet. So I had to really take my time. I would recommend that you wait until it's completely dry. And just pushing and wiggling until it settles down into those areas between the little fake boards. I'm going to take a fine tip, short brush here with my antiquing wax. I'm going to put right down in those cracks. Now don't worry, it's going to look very messy at first, but it's going to be fixed. Don't worry. Don't get discouraged. It's going to look a little too much at first. But it's not a marker, right? If you use a marker in there, you better be sure you know what you're doing because you cannot clean it up. Now I'm taking a dry, clean paper towel and wiping off all of it that is on top of the print. I only want it down into those cracks. I want it to be sunken down in there to make it look like this is possibly painted on boards. Just pushing it right down in there. And we'll do it to the other side too. And then I'm going to be taking it around all of the inner edges of this as well. Just wiping that off. And that's exactly how I like it. See the difference? Now it's all done. Now we can go around the sides. So I'm just using that same brush. I'm just pushing it on the inside here. You can bring it up the little walls on the inside of the edging there if you want to. Totally up to you. And I'll just kind of fade it into the picture area. I don't want anything to necessarily stand out as, oh look, she used antiquing wax. No, gotta be careful. Now I had to move my hanger. This is so lightweight, I'm not even gonna put the screws back in it. For me, this will work. Put the screws in there if you need to put your screws in there. I'm putting this on the side because we have it oriented differently now and we have to hang it, right? Look at that beauty. And you can see the scripture on the top, and I absolutely love it. My friend Kendra will appreciate this one because she is well known for saying this in her videos. What a beautiful picture. Look at all of that beautiful detail. This was at Goodwill, this calendar. Yes. Our winter sign will be next. All right, Mod Podge, squeegee. Yep. Here we go with another calendar page in that same book. It has a matte finish on it. I like that. And it looks like a Kincaid picture, doesn't it? Thomas Kincaid picture. So we're not going to use the front of the sign this time. We're going to turn it around and we're going to do the back. Because at another point, if you wanted to do the front, you could have this reversible. But I'll show you how to do the back in case you don't have a sign with a frame on top. Now I'm going to decide what part of this I want to be seen. I'm going to bend it like I did with the other project that I did. Fold it, bend it down. And then I will be cutting the pieces off. I do lay them up there on that board to make sure I double check. Because this is the only print that I have like this, and it is stunning. The artist needs a whole lot of credit because he or she did a beautiful job on this. Now you can see the scripture on the side that is cut off. It just didn't fit. I'm going to use another piece of that calendar page to mask that. And I don't want to cover up my deer necessarily, but one of my deer is going to get covered. And I had to sacrifice the one deer. One deer is still showing. And look, so if there's something on your calendar page that you want to cover up, you can just take another piece, use your glue stick, put it on there, trim it off, and it is masked perfectly. And then once you get it in place, if you want to seal the whole top of it, it's really going to be masked. I was very pleased with myself. I have to tell you, very pleased with myself when that turned out that way. All right, now we're using the glue stick again. The outside of this trim is going to be sort of like a frame for this print. I'm cleaning up my mess where I got over on the sides. I'll put this down, pat it with my fingers, and then use the squeegee. If y'all found me from my other channel, which is a new channel, I would like to say thank you for supporting me in both places. The other channel's name is Forever Fall Home. And if you haven't heard of it and you would like to see it, I have the link in the description box for you so you can go check it out. It's a little more laid back channel. And yeah, we're growing. We're growing. We're over 1,000. So if you are here and you have been with me and you went over there and you subscribed to support me, I appreciate that very, very much. Going to be doing some fun stuff over there as well. Down we go, all the way around with this trim. I'm crossing it over itself in the corners. Make sure you got enough glue to hold it, and it'll be perfect. Now, I think this came from Amazon, but you can get trim like this from Dollar Tree. This does not have any wire in it. You could also use a ribbon, or you could use it plain, but I thought for this one, I wanted to make it look a little more festive, but a little more country. So I added this on here. I'm going to pat this in place. I think you can agree that there's a little bit of everything for everyone's taste in this video of hacks. We have a little country, we have some woodland theme, we have some farmland situations going on. Some of it looks a little farmhouse, there's definitely rustic. There's a little bit of everything, right? Eclectic, if you will. But that way everybody can learn, everybody can find something. You might not like all 10 of them, but there may be at least one that you really, really like and that you're going to go and try to do yourself. Because if you've got an old calendar, then you have some potential. I'm just wrapping this around a couple of sections to bring that down. Like I said, it's country. It's going to be a little more floofy than some of the things that I do. But I used to craft like this. I did. I used to really enjoy the country theme. And now I'm learning that even though I think I'm eclectic, but I just love anything fall. So we're going to see where that takes me, right? We're going to see where it takes me. Don't worry, I do a little bit for everybody. This is how it looks. This is not hard to do. These are not difficult crafts to do. I did all of these in a few hours. So if you wanted to do every one of them, you certainly can. You certainly can. Thanks again for being with me today. You know I love you. The Christmas riser is next. Okay, so I'm going to use a little cupcake stand that I thrifted. This is a recycled round that I got from Dollar Tree. It had family or something on it. It's like 8 inches. Mod Podge, and I'm going to use this calendar picture. Now this is going to be extremely simple to do. I'm going to flip the cupcake riser upside down. I'm going to flood it with glue, and then I'll flip it over on the back side of this riser. Now ideally, you would want to remove all of that paper from the back side of your riser, right? But this project I'm doing because I want your input. So I'm not going to do all the things, right? I'm not going to do all the things. People like to tell me what they would do if it was theirs. So I'm going to take that and run with it. I'm going to ask you some questions about this. Now, the reason I'm using this Mod Podge is because it's matte and I wanted to make it matte. Right now it is very glossy. I am going to cut out the birdhouse with the bird and the bird on the top. It won't fit on there as one solid piece. But you can certainly do this with one calendar page if everything fits that you want to be your focal point, right? You can do that. So hang with me, y'all. Now, I'm going to cut out the bulk of it, and then I'll do my fussy cutting. That way I don't have paper flapping all over the place and getting in my way and having me doing some crazy fit and tearing my page where I don't want it torn, right? So this was already painted a white. I think it's an Adirondack white chalk paint. It was already painted that way. And then now I'm going to put these on here. Now, I did not put any trim, no ink, nothing around these pieces, and I'll show you what it looks like when you put it down with nothing else. To me, this looks like it is kind of floating in the air. It does not look like it is painted on the surface. You know, when you decoupage things, it kind of sense it becomes part of whatever it is that you're doing, like a permanent part of it, right? So that's, you see that it's just floating though. Now, what I want to know is, would you paint the background a different color for this particular print? Would you leave the red bird off and center the birdhouse? Would you outline this with ink? Would you use antiquing wax? How would you do yours? Now I'm going to take a little bit of this ribbon and trim this out. This is red ribbon. I'm just going to trim it. And this is not going to be, again, a food safe thing. This is going to be more of a decorative piece. This is a grosgrain ribbon, and it's just a little thin ribbon, and I'm going to use hot glue to put it down. Now when you're using hot glue, you want to make sure that you press it in place before it causes a wrinkle, because I left a wrinkle in mine. Sure did. I left a wrinkle right in the front. I mean, right in the front. It's a good thing I left this as an unfinished piece that I didn't. Well, you know, you'll see. Anyway, I'm going to continue around here and just rub out that bead. That bead of glue really needs to be rubbed down. You could also use something like that thick, Quick and Thick, I believe it's called, pipe bond. You could put that on there, and then you wouldn't have to worry about any bumps because it would go completely flat. You could use super glue. What would you use to adhere this to the side? If you didn't use ribbon, what would you use as the outside of this? Would you use maybe a ruffled creme, like in Grand Millennial? Who knows? What would you do? I really want to know. Put it in the comments, y'all. Let's give each other some ideas, because this one needs your help. Don't forget to comment down there, y'all. Check out this rectangle for more videos, or the circle if you're interested in subscribing to the channel. Thanks for stopping by.